Yes, Brian?
Yes.
Is your technology integrated, so inculcated in your content that it can't be pulled out? In other words, is it applicable to manufacturing or to other businesses?
No, I think the research and the solutions are broadly applicable. I'm a trained medical educator. We grab the lowest hanging fruit first. Because they need to learn, right? We can tell that story pretty easily. But we've already been contacted by Cisco training resellers, legal, professional, credit, continuing education. So I think we'll get there to try to solve the $30 billion question. But thank you.
My question is for FastFig. From what levels to what levels of math do you teach?
That's a good question. I asked from what level to what level that we teach. We actually have students as young as second grade that we know are using it. And we actually designed and started everything in the advanced calculus realm. So up through like advanced college calculus and everything in between.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is for FastFig as well. Can you maybe talk a little bit more about your vision for the photo editor aspect, which seems just kind of a bit of a fun toy more than a math education tool. But maybe I don't understand math education anymore.
No, that's totally fair. That was kind of an internal team struggle. No, the photo editor is there for building reports. One of the other aspects is actually showing where math is being used and actively. So we have a lot of examples where people are trying to build reports and trying to show mathematics actually in like Word, that kind of thing. And I know when I was in college, I was doing a lot of that, just copying and pasting things out of Minitab and some of Maple. But to add photos in there is a huge aspect, something that our users were clamoring for. And so we just decided to throw an awesome photo editor in there that they can do whatever they want with. And yes, the stickers are not anything that I've never figured out how to use for math education, but they're fun.
I like them. Yeah, go ahead.
This question is for Acclaim. A lot of my teachers have been asking me about VoiceThread, and from the video, it's sort of like commenting functions look similar to VoiceThread for me. So what sort of separates you from VoiceThread?
Yeah, that's a good question. The question was, how are we different from VoiceThread, and I guess the tools that you can find out there. So the main difference I would say is that, number one, we're really focusing on integrating into the different LMS systems. So I'm not sure if VoiceThread does that. They may have. I haven't kept up on the list. The other is we're really focusing on video. So I think VoiceThread does a ton of other media types, audio, presentations, I believe, or stuff like that. We think video is just the most engaging out of all this. So we're really focusing on that. That's
Back there.
Anyone or all, if you have a mobile presence, are you in the browser or native, or what are you on?
Sure. We're totally mobile friendly. We're seeing about 15-16% of our usage on mobile. We think that's just going to keep growing. But we're not native. We're mobile friendly, browser based.
We're pretty much the same in all respects. We're completely browser-based, so mobile compatible, mobile friendly. We're seeing about 20% of our users. We're seeing the charge that's increasing dramatically. And we've designed everything mobile first, and then we expand it for the desktop.
Yeah, we're pretty much in the same boat too. We're not native to any specific platform. We're browser-based, cloud-based. And actually what we're finding is that teachers are using a lot more tablet-based things. One of the markets that we're moving into now is gathering assessment information. And not only assessments like pre-formatted assessments like state assessments that are done on an annual basis, but stuff that teachers are doing in schools. And being able to sit down with those students and put that information in real time and have those answers right away is a big solution for them. So we're definitely compatible with any desktop browser, any laptop browser, tablets, mobile phones, everything.
What they said.
So same for us. It's mostly it's a responsive web-based platform, so it is available on the phone. But when the time is right, we want to build a native mobile app for the experience.
I'll add a little to my comment. I have a fundamental concern about the way I see learning taking place. and mobile, this small mobile, right? So one of the decisions we made pretty early on is to try to architect our learning environment for something that's about 9 inches diagonal. The idea being if that screen gets any smaller than that, then I'm viewing, I'm not necessarily learning by my research. So you can argue that you can engage and you can absorb content, but my research would actually suggest that 5 minutes later it was probably ethereal and it's left you. But if we're really focusing on hardcore learning, then I've kind of put a flag in the ground.
And just to add to that, you're primarily adult-based learning?
Yeah.
So when you look at that versus, someone who is in 2nd grade, and when they were a baby laying in bed with their parents, they had a smartphone in their hands. Like I have an 18-month-old son, and every morning he's, screaming at me in the morning because he wants to watch his YouTube videos. I can only imagine how drastically that's going to change by the time he's in 2nd grade, where something like a phone, and not to disagree with what you're saying, but when you're looking at those younger learners, they're a different learning style, and they learn in a different way.
Go ahead.
Great job, everybody. Got a question. Anyone can answer. So just kind of walk us through any thoughts you've had about, as you're designing your product, any thoughts you've had about special needs children and how your product is work for them.
That explains most of the physicians I work with. I'll yield the floor to my co-speakers.
Yeah, so one thing that's come up actually is having captions as part of the videos, just for that, for students in need who, maybe have, or deaf or whatever the need is. And so we haven't implemented that type of stuff yet, but we're certainly paying attention to it because obviously with different standards that are out there, we need to abide by them. So, and obviously our goal is to make it accessible to everybody. So.
We just fell into it, to be honest. It's something we thought about in the back of our minds, and then after a few days later, after we had discussed a little bit at a meeting, I actually had 2 teachers write to us and let us know that they loved it for working with some students that had autism. They were struggling to get them to organize their mathematics straight down a page, and just whoa, that makes sense. And then also students that have dexterity issues with actually writing, so they can use the keyboard or their existing electronic input.
I know there's that traditional way of looking at a special needs person as someone with, in special education or, has problems with sight or something like that. But the way that we like to look at it is every learner is a special needs learner in the sense that every learner may learn a little bit differently. Like, for example, in the little bit of the story I told, it was a seemingly, well-adjusted, good kid who, was very bright, but she unfortunately had a little bit of a problem understanding reading. So she wouldn't qualify for special needs, she wouldn't get sent to the child study team, she wouldn't be put in special education. But she needed that little bit of extra help. And when that little bit of extra help gets done a little bit here in 3rd grade,